Dear readers, today we have David Guymer, a fantastic writer. His latest book, Kinslayer, is a blast. It's really a blast. You need to read it. You could find my review at my page and at several forums at Heresy Online and Warseer, at End of Times blogs. So now we want to ask David Guymer several questions about the series and his opinion on the End of Time fluff in general. Let's start with Slayer. Who gave you the idea to write two books, the duology, and the idea especially to provide the storyline for Gotrek and Felix in that direction?
Well, so yeah, I suppose the general sort of history with Gotrek and Felix is that it would be a trilogy bundled into an omnibus eventually. But here, of course, it's part of the End Times. And there's a certain number of releases timed in certain ways to fit in with an advancing timeline. So in that context, it ended up as two books.
And why do you decided to move the plot line in that direction? A little spoilers from Kinslayer.
Well, trying to avoid spoilers where possible, I'll speak generally. There were certain things that were given to me by the editors that this will have to happen, and it was happening in a particular period within End Times timeline. So in that respect, it was handed down to me. But in terms of the storyline, I guess it kind of evolved. You know, how the characters are at the end of Zombie Slayer, moving them towards this new period. We're being invaded. Be quiet, mice. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Yeah, it was bringing all the characters back together and thinking what would bring them together, how would they behave when they come back together, what spur would make them come back together, and how would that then go when that happens?
You've made an awesome job, really.
Thank you.
The fans actually quite like the story, and even comparing it to the William King and Nathan Long fantastic writing. So you have done your job very well, and your good and positive reviews are actually quite deserved for the
it's always nice to read them,
and it's much better than The City of the Damned, which is in itself a very good book, but you are improved. Actually, quite a lot.
It probably helps to be part of the Slayer timeline again, perhaps. But also, of course, it's practice. You know, that's my second book. This is my fourth book, I suppose.
Fourth book. Before that, there was City of the Damned. Before that, Headtaker, and before that,
Headtaker, City of the Damned, Thorgrim.
Thorgrim, yeah, Thorgrim novella about the dwarves. How you was able to take the dwarves team from the Gav Torp or Nick Kime? They're actually the dwarf writers.
Dwarf man.
Dwarf man.
I'll not make any jokes. So I'd read the Dwarfs Omnibus by Gav and Nick. That's kind of my touchstone whenever I write about dwarfs, because it's kind of the dwarf Bible. If only for the grudge law bit at the end, the alphabet and the anatomy of the dwarf hold. So it's the same with Gotrek and Felix, really. You read what's come before and you absorb it and you internalize it and you let it suffuse you and let what comes out come out.
In the plotline, what position Kinslayer makes to Fall of Altdorf? Is it goes before the events or consistently parallel to events of Fall of Altdorf? It's definitely
before,
after Return of Nagash, right?
Yeah, definitely after the Return of the Nagash. And it's definitely before at least part of Fall of Altdorf, because at the beginning they're in Altdorf. So, and it's probably no spoiler to say what happens at the end of Fall of Altdorf. But it's probably no stretch to think that events within Fall of Altdorf might be happening at the same time as the latter stage of Kinsley.
What impact your next book, Slayer, will have at the general end of time?
So that's difficult for me to say, actually, because I know the outline of the end times. I know a few other books coming.
We know them too, like Malus, like Gavtor's book, and another Werner's book.
Yeah,
we have a
Dark
schedule
Blade book.
quite mentioned at Amazon and Waterstones. It's leaked a long time ago.
Yeah, so well, Gotrek and Felix and Dark Blade, they are wider releases, whereas the other, specifically end times books like Fall of Altdorf, are Black Library exclusives. So they won't be leaked in the same way, or forwarded, or whatever you call it. So in terms of where exactly Slayer fits in terms of how far it is towards the end of the end times, I don't know. But it does take place after Fall of Altdorf, and it takes place before a certain other book I know about, which I can't talk about. Not by me, but by another great author.
Let's pretend we don't know that's Gavtorp, and it would be released, let's pretend, next year.
You can pretend that if you like.
Can say. You can say, just like in tradition with Horus Heresy. Okay, and the last question. Now you have a baby, right?
That's true.
You are very proud and I hope happy father.
Depends on the day.
I don't know. How does that improve or not improved your writing and your writing schedule in general?
So I used to always write. I still work. I should add. I'm a part-time writer, really, and so I would always write in the evenings after work, and I would pretty much write all weekend, both weekends. Now I never work Saturday. That's kind of like family day time, and I can only work half of Sunday because my girlfriend has to work too. She has to do home study stuff as well. So that leaves me with evenings, which is obviously not a lot if you have to do this. So I also do a lot of paper scribbling. I'll have a baby rolling around on the floor somewhere, and I'll be writing a scene or a plan. But often, I wrote a short. We talked about in the End Time seminar. I wrote a short story called Marienberg's Stand to be a prequel for Fall of Altdorf.
That's the actual title.
Yeah, Marienberg's Stand, and I wrote that entirely longhand, and 10,000 words of, and then type that up later because I can have a pad of paper with me wherever I am, whatever's happening around me. I can't always have a PC. So yes, it's changed my writing schedule quite a lot.
Quite a lot. Thank you. We are very grateful for the interview.